All right, so we've got a whole pile of research here on weight loss drugs. Looks like you're really trying to figure out what's out there, how it all works, and, what to watch out for as you kind of explore your options. Articles, research papers, even some stuff on like the latest developments. So much to unpack.
Yeah, it's true. The landscape of weight loss medications is changing so much. It's amazing. It used to be, pretty much all about appetite suppression.
Yeah.
But now we're seeing these drugs that are, working on all these different levels, mimicking hormones, changing the way our bodies process food. It's pretty remarkable.
Okay, well, maybe we should start by just kind of like mapping out the different types of drugs, like a roadmap for our listener. Because we've got everything from those like familiar over-the-counter pills to some like high-tech stuff that honestly I've never even heard of before.
Great idea. Yeah, let's start with something familiar. Lipase inhibitors.
Lipase inhibitors.
These work by basically blocking your body from absorbing some of the fat that you eat. You might recognize Orlistat. It's available over the counter.
Okay, so it's like a safety net for when you can't resist those fries.
Exactly. But, it's not a free pass. You can't just eat whatever you want. It just reduces, the number of calories that you absorb from fat.
Makes sense. What about the medications that like directly tackle hunger pangs? There's a lot of those mentioned in here.
Right. Those are appetite suppressants.
Uh-huh.
And they work in a few different ways. Some, like phentermine, act like stimulants. They, directly affect those hunger signals in the brain. And then others, like Contrave, are combining different mechanisms to target both hunger and cravings.
So it's all about like interrupting those signals that tell us to eat, even when we're not really hungry. But it seems like from what I'm seeing here, the real game changer is this newer class of drugs, the GLP-1 agonists, right?
Yeah, that's where it gets really interesting. These were originally developed for diabetes,
Mm-hmm.
but researchers discovered that they had this really dramatic effect on weight loss as well. They work by enhancing insulin secretion, which helps regulate blood sugar, and they slow down how quickly your stomach empties, so you feel fuller longer. And as an added bonus, they reduce appetite.
Wow, it's like a triple whammy on those weight loss roadblocks. I can see why everyone's talking about these, but there are so many names like thrown around: Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro. Are these all GLP-1 agonists?
Yeah, you've hit on a really important point, understanding the difference between the brand names and the actual active ingredient. For example, Ozempic and Wegovy, they both contain semaglutide. Ozempic was initially for diabetes, but Wegovy is FDA-approved specifically for weight management.
Oh, so same drug, different packaging, targeted for different conditions. It's smart marketing. What about those other names that I mentioned?
So liraglutide, sold as Saxenda, is another GLP-1 agonist that helps control hunger. And then you have tirzepatide, which you'll find under the brand names Mounjaro and Zepbound. Now, this one is especially interesting because it's a dual GIP and GLP-1 receptor agonist.
Okay, two keys. But what are the locks here? I'm intrigued, but I need a little more explanation.
Sure. So think of these receptors, GIP and GLP-1, like messengers in your body. They regulate blood sugar, appetite. Most of the drugs we've talked about only activate one of these messengers, GLP-1. But tirzepatide activates both, which is thought to be why it leads to even more weight loss than the other medications. In fact, it even outperformed Ozempic in trials.
So activating both pathways, it's like amplifying the signal. Makes them more effective.
Exactly. And that's why researchers are so excited about tirzepatide. It's actually being explored as a treatment for sleep apnea, too, on top of weight loss. It's really pushing boundaries here.
That's incredible. But let's not forget about side effects. What did the research say about, how safe these drugs are?
Right. Wegovy and Zepbound, they're considered the most effective right now.
Yeah.
But, they do have potential side effects, nausea, headaches, and gastrointestinal issues. Pretty common with a lot of medications, though.
So it's a trade-off. Potentially really significant weight loss, but with some discomfort. What about those older appetite suppressants? I remember hearing something about potential heart risks with those.
Yeah, there have been concerns about some potential cardiovascular risks with some appetite suppressants, especially some of the older ones. And it's an area of ongoing research, so, it's really important to discuss, those risks and benefits with your doctor to make an informed decision.
Right, okay. So we've got the effectiveness, the potential side effects, but it seems like these medications might actually offer more than just weight loss. You mentioned diabetes, and I'm seeing stuff in here about cognitive function, even reducing dementia risk.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. It's becoming clear that these weight loss medications, especially the GLP-1 agonists like Ozempic, Mounjaro, and Wegovy, they might offer benefits way beyond just shedding pounds. They could actually potentially play a role in managing multiple health challenges.
Now that's a game changer. So we're talking about potentially addressing both diabetes and weight loss with one medication, and maybe even, protecting against cognitive decline later on.
Exactly. And the research is ongoing, so, scientists are just beginning to explore the full potential of these drugs. We're really on the cusp of some groundbreaking discoveries.
It's mind-blowing to think about the possibilities. But who are the companies behind all this? Who are the big players in this world of weight loss drugs?
Well, there are several pharmaceutical companies leading the charge here, each with their own approach. Novo Nordisk is the company behind Wegovy and Ozempic, so they're a major player. And then you have Eli Lilly, the maker of Mounjaro.
I've also seen Roche and Amgen mentioned a lot too, both working on their own obesity treatments. It's like a race to find that next big breakthrough.
It is a competitive field, yeah. And each company is really exploring different avenues. Roche is focusing on treatments that target very specific metabolic pathways, while Amgen is developing next-generation drugs that could have longer-lasting effects.
So it's not just about creating a single miracle drug. It's about understanding, this complex mechanisms of weight loss and developing, like a whole arsenal of tools to address it. But with all this going on, all this research, it can feel really overwhelming. What's the most important takeaway for our listener from all of this?
I think the key takeaway here is that, we're seeing this real paradigm shift in how we approach weight loss. We're moving away from simple appetite suppressants to these very sophisticated medications that are targeting multiple pathways involved in hunger, metabolism, even chronic diseases like diabetes.
It's not just about, shedding pounds. It's about actually improving overall health and well-being.
Precisely. And, while GLP-1 agonists like Wegovy and Zepbound are showing incredible promise, it's important to remember that every medication has potential risks and benefits that need to be carefully considered.
Which means it's more important than ever to, stay informed, do your research, and have open and honest conversations with your healthcare provider to figure out the best course of action for you.
Absolutely. It's about finding the right tool for the job, and understanding the full picture before making any decisions about your health.
It's kind of wild to think that, just a few years ago, these really effective medications weren't even, an option.
Yeah, it feels like we're really entering a whole new era of weight management. But even though, these advancements are super exciting, it's important to remember that, they're not a magic bullet. They're tools, and they have to be used responsibly and as part of a bigger strategy.
Right. It's not like you can just pop a pill and watch the weight melt away. We still have to, think about those fundamental lifestyle changes.
Exactly. Weight loss medications, they can be super effective in helping people, achieve significant weight loss.
Yeah.
But they work best, in combination with healthy diet, regular exercise, and even behavioral therapy.
So it's about creating a holistic approach that addresses, not just the physical side of things, but the psychological and the emotional factors too. Those things that can often contribute to weight gain.
Absolutely. And that's really where healthcare professionals play a vital role. They can help people, figure out if medication is the right choice for them, guide them through the process, and provide, that ongoing support.
It sounds like a real partnership, a team effort to achieve sustainable weight loss. But speaking of teams, there's another player in this story that we haven't really talked about: insurance companies. From this research, it looks like access to these medications can be a real challenge because of the cost and, all the insurance coverage issues.
Yeah, that's a major hurdle for a lot of people. Weight loss drugs, especially these newer ones, can be pretty pricey. And insurance coverage it's kind of all over the place. Some insurers will cover these medications for weight loss, but others will only cover them for diabetes management.
It's a real catch-22, right? People who need these medications might not be able to afford them without insurance, but they might not be able to get coverage unless they have a diabetes diagnosis.
Exactly. And it raises some really important questions about, equity and access to healthcare. Who gets access to these medications that could, be life-changing? And who gets left behind?
Yeah, it's a tough one. And there are no easy answers, but it definitely highlights the need for more advocacy and policy changes to make sure that everyone who could benefit from these medications can actually get them, regardless of their, financial situation or their insurance coverage.
I totally agree. It's an ongoing battle. But hopefully as more people become aware and as the research continues to show, just how effective these medications can be in the long run, we'll start to see some positive changes in insurance coverage.
Fingers crossed. So we've talked about a lot today, the different types of weight loss drugs, how they work, their potential benefits and risks, even, those challenges around access and affordability.
Yeah, we've really dived into the science, the economics, and the social implications of this field. And it's clear that weight loss medications are, they're a powerful tool in the fight against obesity. But like we said, they're not a standalone solution.
Right. They're just one piece of the puzzle. But before we move on, I'm curious about the future. What do you think the next, say, 5 to 10 years will bring in the world of weight loss treatments?
That's a great question, and it's one that researchers and pharmaceutical companies are really focused on right now. I think we can expect to see even more targeted and personalized approaches to weight loss in the coming years.
Personalized medicine. That sounds super futuristic. What would that even look like when we're talking about weight loss?
Well, just imagine a world where weight loss treatments are, specifically tailored to your genetic makeup, your lifestyle, your medical history. We might see, medications that actually target specific genes or pathways that are involved in weight gain, or maybe even treatments that are designed to address those underlying hormonal imbalances that can, contribute to obesity.
So moving away from that like one size fits all approach and moving towards a more individualized understanding of weight loss.
Precisely. And that could lead to, treatments that are even more effective, safer, maybe even with fewer side effects. We might even see combination therapies that target multiple pathways at the same time.
Wow. It's mind-boggling to think about. It really sounds like the future of weight loss treatment is going to be, super exciting, maybe even revolutionary.
I agree. And I think it's important to remember that this isn't just about, losing weight. It's about improving overall health, well-being, quality of life for millions of people.
Absolutely. It's about empowering people to take control of their health and achieve their weight loss goals in a safe and sustainable way, giving them the tools and the support they need to succeed.
And with all these, continued advancements in research and technology, I really believe we're getting closer to that reality every day.
This whole conversation has been really eye-opening, but all this talk about the future, it makes me wonder about the potential impact on, society as a whole.
Yeah, that's a crucial thing to think about. As these medications become, more effective and more accessible, they could really reshape how we view and address obesity as a society.
It makes you wonder if it could actually, lead to less stigma around weight.
It's definitely possible. If we start to understand obesity as a complex medical condition, something that can be effectively managed with medication, just like other chronic diseases, that could really foster, more empathy and understanding for people who, are struggling with their weight.
That would be a monumental shift. But it brings up some ethical questions too, doesn't it? Could there be pressure on people to use these medications even if they're not okay with it?
That's a really valid concern. It's absolutely essential to make sure that these medications are used responsibly and ethically, and that people have the freedom to make informed decisions about their own bodies and their health.
I couldn't agree more. No one should feel pressured or judged for their choices, whether they choose to use medication or not. It's all about respecting what feels right for each person,
and making sure that these medications are used as a part of that comprehensive approach to weight management, not as a quick fix or replacement for healthy lifestyle changes.
Right. It's about finding that balance between those medical interventions and personal responsibility, recognizing that there's no one size fits all.
Exactly. And that's where open and honest communication between healthcare providers and their patients is so important. It's about having those conversations about the potential benefits and the risks of these medications and working together to come up with a plan, a personalized plan that really aligns with the individual's needs and goals.
It's about remembering, the human element, the empathy, the understanding, and that shared decision-making process.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that weight loss is complicated.
Right.
It has so many different facets, and it requires a holistic and compassionate approach.
Well said. So as we keep going with this deep dive, it's pretty clear that the world of weight loss drugs it's fascinating, and it's changing so quickly.
It's a field full of promise and potential,
Yeah.
but also challenges that we need to really think carefully about how to navigate.
And it's definitely a topic that deserves, our continued attention and consideration. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's take a minute to just kind of recap what we've learned so far, and then we can dive into some of those really interesting future possibilities. All right, so we've covered, the different types of weight loss drugs out there, how they work, the good and the bad, even those like roadblocks around access and affordability. It's a lot.
It really is. And we've really just scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore in this field. It's constantly changing.
Yeah, for sure. Which brings us to that question we touched on earlier, the future of all this. What trends or, breakthroughs are you really excited about?
Well, I think personalized medicine is where it's at. Imagine like treatments that are tailored to you, your genetic makeup, your lifestyle, your medical history.
So not like a one-size-fits-all. We're talking about treatments that are like designed specifically for you. That sounds like something out of a movie.
It may sound futuristic, but, it's closer than you think. We're already seeing it. Genetic testing, targeted therapies.
Like what kind of targeted therapies are we talking about?
Well, scientists they're identifying specific genes and pathways that are involved in weight gain. And once we understand these mechanisms, really understand them, then we can develop drugs that go right to those areas.
So like using a laser instead of a shotgun.
Exactly. It's precision medicine. Figuring out exactly what's contributing to weight gain in a person and then, going right to that.
That's amazing. So this personalized approach could mean like more effective treatments, fewer side effects, right?
That's the hope. And it's not just about genes either. We're learning about hormones, gut bacteria, even things in your environment, all these things that affect weight. And as we uncover those connections, we can develop even more personalized and holistic approaches.
So it's like putting a puzzle together. Each piece is like a different factor that contributes to weight gain.
Exactly. And the more we understand how the pieces fit, the better the treatments will be. More effective, more individual.
This is so interesting. But as we're, looking ahead to all this, what about the impact on society?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, these advancements could really change how we see obesity, how we address it, as a society.
Do you think these breakthroughs could maybe reduce the stigma around weight?
It's possible, if we start to really get it, that obesity is a complex medical condition, and it can be managed effectively with medication, just like, heart disease or diabetes. Then maybe there'll be more empathy, more compassion for people who struggle with their weight.
That would be huge. But wouldn't that also raise ethical issues? Could there be pressure on people to use these medications even if they don't want to?
That's a good point. We have to make sure that these medications are used responsibly, ethically. People need to have the freedom to make their own choices about their health.
For sure. No one should feel like they have to, take medication if they don't want to. It's all about respecting what each person wants and feels comfortable with.
And making sure that, medication is part of a whole approach, not just a quick fix.
Yeah.
It can't replace a healthy lifestyle.
Right. Finding that balance, medical stuff and personal responsibility. And recognizing that there's no magic solution that works for everyone.
That's really it. And that's why, that open communication, that trust between a doctor and patient, that's so key. It's about talking about the potential benefits, the risks, and coming up with a plan that's right for that person.
So it's not just about the science, it's about the human side of it.
Absolutely. Empathy, understanding, working together, and seeing weight management through a lens of compassion.
So well said. Well, listener, it's clear that the world of weight loss drugs, it's exciting and it's changing fast.
It really is. And there's so much potential here, to transform lives. But we need to be thoughtful, ethical, always putting individual choice and well-being first.
It's been a fascinating journey exploring all this from, the science behind these drugs to the potential impact they could have on society.
And we hope it's given you, the listener, some food for thought to help you navigate all of this.
Knowledge is power, as they say. So stay curious, stay informed, and talk to your doctor. They're the best guide for you on this.
Absolutely. Stay engaged, stay informed, and stay curious.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.